People rarely leave the day they decide to, most leave after a long season of emotional evidence. This truth often unfolds in whispers before it ever becomes a roar. The decision to quit a job is rarely a single dramatic event, but rather the quiet culmination of countless small moments, feelings, unvoiced thoughts. It's a slow gathering storm on the horizon of your inner life. You might not even notice the clouds forming at first. The signs arrive subtly, camouflaged as a bad day, a stressful week, a temporary slump. But over time, they build a powerful and undeniable case, a quiet but persistent testimony that your work no longer aligns with the person you are or the life you want to lead. These quiet signals are your emotions, speaking to you in their native language. They are not dramatic outbursts or moments of crisis, but steady, low-frequency hums of discomfort. They show up as a knot in your stomach on a Sunday evening, a flash of bitterness in a team meeting, a profound lack of energy that no amount of coffee seems to fix. We are often taught to push these feelings aside, to be professional, to be resilient, to power through. But in doing so, we ignore some of the most valuable data we have about our own well-being. This essay is an invitation to pause and to listen to that data with compassion and curiosity. This essay will serve as a guide to help you identify and name these quiet, persistent signs. We will explore the subtle textures of feelings like dread, resentment, numbness, heaviness, emotional shrinking. Giving these feelings a name is a powerful first step. A name transforms a vague, unsettling fog into something tangible, something you can look at, understand, and hold without being overwhelmed by it. It allows you to move from a state of passive suffering to one of active awareness. When you can clearly articulate what you are feeling, you are no longer a victim of your circumstances. You are an observer gathering information to make a careful and conscious choice. Our goal here is not to rush you toward a resignation letter. The goal is to cultivate a practice of gentle self-honesty. It is about learning to trust the information your body and your heart are providing. These feelings are not a sign of weakness or failure. They are simply messengers delivering critical information about your needs, your boundaries, your values. By learning to decode their messages, you can begin to navigate your professional life with greater clarity and care, ensuring that the work you do not only provides a living, but also supports a life that feels authentic and whole. Dread is often the first and most visceral sign that something is deeply wrong. It is a heavy anticipatory anxiety that settles in long before the workday begins. You feel its presence when your alarm clock rings, transforming the start of a new day into a call to endure rather than an opportunity to engage. You might find yourself hitting the snooze button repeatedly, not because you are physically tired, but because you are emotionally resistant to what lies ahead, inventing small rituals of avoidance, taking a longer route to the office, lingering over your coffee, scrolling endlessly on your phone, anything to postpone the moment you have to log on or walk through the door. This feeling is more than just a simple dislike for Mondays or a temporary aversion to a specific task. Dread is a consistent sinking sensation in the pit of your stomach when you think about your job. It can manifest physically: tension headaches, a tight chest, a nervous, unsettled feeling that follows you throughout your commute. It's the feeling of bracing for impact, day after day. When dread becomes your most frequent morning companion, it is a serious signal that your work environment has become a source of pain rather than purpose. It's important to distinguish dread from normal work stress. Stress is often tied to a specific challenge and can even be motivating. Dread, however, is broader and more pervasive. It's about the entire context of your work, a feeling of being trapped in a place or role that conflicts with your well-being. If dread greets you most mornings, it is an invitation to ask difficult questions. What, specifically, am I dreading? Is it a person, a responsibility, the environment itself? When did this feeling start? What does it feel like in my body? Acknowledging the presence of dread is the first act of taking yourself seriously. Resentment is a quiet, corrosive emotion that grows in the soil of perceived unfairness. It sprouts when your contributions are overlooked, your efforts taken for granted, your boundaries crossed without acknowledgement. It's the feeling when you're giving more than you receive: money, recognition, respect, support. Each time a colleague takes credit, a manager dismisses your concerns, you work late while others leave on time, a small bitter seed is planted. Over time, these seeds grow into a thorny bush of bitterness. Resentment can be stealthy, masking as acceptable workplace behaviors, a sharp, sarcastic humor about policy, a jab at your boss's latest initiative, then gradual withdrawal, contributing the bare minimum, holding back your best ideas, withholding discretionary effort, complaining to friends and family, replaying minor injustices in your head. Resentment makes you feel smaller and more cynical, draining joy and pride, an anchor tethering you to past hurts. It echoes saying yes when you should have said no, or needing support and getting silence, extra work with no thank you, promotions for the politically savvy, not the competent. Resentment is a flashing red light on your emotional dashboard. Left unaddressed, it can poison work and spill into home life, consuming energy, building walls. Recognizing and naming resentment is the first step to reclaiming power. Stop simmering. Ask, what need is not being met? What boundary was crossed? Acknowledging resentment doesn't make you petty. It makes you an honest assessor of your experience. Numbness is unsettling because it's defined by a lack of feeling, an internal blankness, a void where engagement and passion used to be. A successful launch, positive feedback, a major announcement barely registers. A looming deadline or critical email no longer sparks anxiety. You are going through the motions, a ghost in your own work life. This emotional flatlining is a defense. Overwhelmed by stress, disappointment, or lack of meaning, your mind turns down the volume to protect you. It's psychological self-preservation. If you don't care, you can't get hurt. If you're not invested, you can't be disappointed. But its long-term effect is isolating, disconnecting you from work and from parts of yourself that feel purpose, creativity, and connection. Numbness is easy to miss. It doesn't scream like dread or burn like resentment. You might mistake it for calm or professional detachment, even praise yourself for being unflappable. But this quiet is not healthy peace. It's abdication, the emotional equivalent of a dead battery. The job no longer speaks to who you are. If you recognize numbness, it indicates a profound disconnect between your inner world and external reality. This is not sustainable. Heaviness is a form of exhaustion that sleep cannot fix. Bone-deep weariness settling into body and mind, making small tasks feel monumental. You wake as tired as you slept, your body leaden, movement slow, as if wading through thick mud. This is not the satisfying tiredness of meaningful work. It's the draining fatigue of carrying an emotional weight too heavy to bear. Emotionally, a persistent sadness, a pressure on your chest, a gray cloud dimming your day. You lose interest in hobbies. Avoid social activity. Heaviness accumulates from pushing through dread, swallowing resentment, operating in numbness, the bill for the emotional labor of getting through the day. Physical symptoms are varied: chronic muscle aches, frequent headaches, digestive issues, even more colds. Your body keeping the score. You may struggle to fall asleep with a racing mind or wake multiple times in the night. If heaviness is pervasive, life is out of balance. Work is demanding more energy than it returns, a deficit you cannot sustain. This is a plea for rest, not just sleep, but the spiritual rest of alignment and sustainability. Assess honestly, is it volume, toxic culture, lack of meaning, or all of the above? Emotional shrinking is making yourself smaller to survive in your work environment. A gradual retreat of your true personality, unique ideas, authentic voice. You begin to hide the parts of you that have been judged, dismissed, or penalized. You stop raising your hand with novel ideas, quiet your questions, keep interactions transactional. You edit yourself constantly, muted, cautious, diminished. You learn to play a role, to wear a professional mask, agreeable, compliant, unobtrusive. It may keep you out of trouble now, but at enormous long-term cost. Consistently suppressing your authentic self stifles growth, creativity, and agency, agreeing to a silent contract that says, I will not be fully me in order to stay here. Notice the contrast. At home, you're funny, passionate, opinionated, expansive, and free. At work, you're constricted, tense, guarded. Maintaining this split is taxing and fragments the self. This dissonance signals a deep misfit. When you hide strengths, silence your voice, avoid attention, the environment is incompatible with who you are and who you're becoming. The cost of belonging is the loss of yourself, always too high. Think about that. Given how painful and persistent these signs are, it seems logical we'd act immediately. Yet many ignore them for months or years. There are powerful, understandable reasons for avoidance. First, financial reality. Pay a mortgage, support a family, save for the future. This pressure compels us to tolerate discomfort. The fear of unemployment and uncertainty makes the devil you know seem safer. We tell ourselves we can't afford to listen to our feelings. Culturally, we're told to be tough. We view negative emotions as personal failing, not valid responses to dysfunction. We worry about being perceived as weak, a complainer, not a team player. So we blame ourselves. We think, if I tried harder, had a better attitude, were more organized, these feelings would go away. This self-blame avoids a harder truth. The problem may be the job itself. Hope makes us minimize. It's temporary after the project, once the boss leaves. Hope can numb us to permanent core issues, toxic culture, unfulfilling work, value misalignment. Minimizing is a shield against fear, uncertainty, and grief that come with hard truths and major change. But that shield keeps us stuck. Ignored feelings don't disappear. They grow louder toward burnout, illness, a crisis. Listening sooner, while scarier, gives you more options and control. Not every difficult period is a signal to quit. It's crucial to distinguish a hard season from a deep misfit. A hard season is finite, tied to a demanding project, an organizational change, a temporary conflict. Stress is linked to the situation. There's light at the end. Despite fatigue, you feel connection and accomplishment. When the season ends, you bounce back, recharge, re-engage. The storm passes, the climate is still habitable. A deep misfit is different. It's the climate. Dread, resentment, numbness, heaviness, shrinking are chronic and steady. They don't ease after a weekend or vacation. Returning can make them worse. It's misalignment with core components. Work itself, boring, meaningless, culture, toxic, political, against your values, people, unsupportive boss or team, and role demands that require a version of you you no longer want to be. In deep misfit, feelings repeat across contexts and don't resolve. This isn't a rough patch to power through. It's a persistent signal you're not in the right place to thrive. Recognizing this distinction enables an empowered choice. Your emotions are not your enemy. They are not weaknesses to be overcome. They are quite simply data, an information system giving you real-time feedback. Your feelings tell you what you need. Your feelings tell you where your boundaries are. Your feelings tell you what you value. Resentment is data about a crossed boundary. Dread signals a threat to your well-being. Numbness indicates a profound lack of connection. Treating emotions as information changes everything. Listening doesn't require a dramatic decision today. Begin with honest, compassionate curiosity. Turn inward and ask, what am I actually feeling right now? Notice and name without judgment. Say or write, I feel a sense of heaviness in my chest when I think about my inbox. I feel a flash of resentment when my boss speaks to me that way. Naming brings the feeling into the light so you can see it clearly and become a gentle investigator of your own experience. Ask, where do I feel this in my body? When does it show up? What triggers it? Keep a small private log for a week or two, not to build a case against your job, but to understand your experience. This is your evidence. Then set one low-risk test. Leave on time every day for a week. Speak up in one meeting. See how these small actions affect your feelings. This is how you gather more data. This isn't about fault, it's about fit. Your feelings are your guide. They're not pushing you off a cliff. They're illuminating a path toward work that is aligned, sustainable, whole. For the next 7 days, take 2 minutes after work to write one feeling that was most present for you. Just one word each day. This simple act of noticing is the beginning of everything, of trusting yourself, taking your well-being seriously, and finding your way back to work that doesn't just ask you to show up, but allows you to thrive. People rarely leave the day they decide to. Most leave after a long season of emotional evidence. Your emotions are not weakness, but important information. If this resonated, you're not alone. Take good care.